Today we're giving Oprah a little run for her money as we take a look at a brand new book on the market. This one's called Velvet and Cinder Blocks, and it's a collection of short stories by journalist turned fiction writer Ioannis Gatsiounis. Now, Ioannis is originally from New York but has lived in Asia, in Malaysia in particular, for a number of years, and we are very fortunate to have him on the show with us this morning. So welcome to the show, Ioannis.
Thank you.
Now, tell us a little bit about the book. First of all, I've noticed when we ran those pictures, there are two colors, in yellow and in purple.
True.
Was there a particular reason for this?
In the decision-making process, we were trying to decide yellow or purple.
So you decided to just go with both?
Couldn't really decide. It's a bit like when you go to a store and you see two pairs of shoes that you like. You're kind of undecided, and you buy both. Great.
Now, it's a collection of 10 stories, I believe.
That's right.
And what are some of these stories about?
The stories generally are about that sort of pivotal period in world history that we're still sort of living through now, post 9/11, taking us through the George W. Bush era, and the sort of ostensible civilizational divide that was taking place. And so the stories take place in kampongs, in Asian metropolises, New York City, suburbia, deserts, all over the place, really. And it's a very fun and interesting ride, and I think sort of captures the zeitgeist, if you will.
Right. Now, you moved from New York to Asia, and this was, I'm assuming, if it was 6 years ago, so after 9/11?
After 9/11, just before Mahathir stepped down.
Right. And so what inspired a lot of this? I mean, because you wrote a lot of reports and news reports.
A lot of
for the
journalism.
Asian Wall Street Journal.
Political issues here
What
in
inspired
Malaysia
you to write fiction?
I think that, fiction is a different form. It allows a writer to express his or herself in different ways, tap into to things a bit differently than you can in journalism.
Right. And what are some of these things that you've tapped into?
I guess you can tap more deeply into the way people think and operate. And I think journalism generally is much
it's just
more
throwing about facts and
constraining.
figuring stuff out.
Right. So.
And were these based on characters that you met along the way? Are there any of them based on, say, for example, experiences or true stories?
Everybody wants to know that. I think if to get a more complete answer of that to that question, I would suggest picking up the book. There's a story in there that it's called The New Vet, and it actually addresses the question of how much fiction is in fact nonfiction. I find that nonfiction generally does not play out very well in the form of fiction.
Right.
I think that it's important to, for instance, if you're to set a story in Kuala Lumpur, it's very important to have lived in that place, to be able to capture the smells, the sounds, the rhythms of the place. But replicating reality verbatim in fiction, as I say, I don't think works very well. To be a successful fiction writer, to put together a solid collection, which I think we've done here, something that's very entertaining, mentally stimulating at the same time, I think one has to rely on their imagination.
And had this had anything to do with you choosing to write a collection of short stories as opposed to a whole book? Did you feel you could get more out that way?
The nice thing about writing short stories is you can tap into different voices much easier, different rhythms. And I think readers who pick up this collection will find some stories that are intellectually very stimulating, other ones that are just purely entertaining and fun. And that's why I encourage readers to take a dip into the book, because I think there's something in it for everyone.
Okay. Now, what are some of the changes that you have observed in the region, having moved here from New York and then lived here for the past, 6 years, which has been rather turbulent, if you think about it, for the Muslim community in particular.
Here in Malaysia?
In Malaysia, worldwide.
We address that a little bit in this book. So anybody who's interested in that subject, again, I encourage them to pick it up. Should sort of be very stimulating in that sense. How has the region changed? I've seen a lot of construction, that's for sure, a lot of cranes. I think the standard of living is picking up. That being said, I do think there is a lot more room for growth. And when I speak of growth here, I don't mean just physical growth and infrastructural growth, but mental and societal growth. And I think sometimes we've neglected that form of development at the expense of nation building. That being said, I think there are bright spots, there are encouraging signs, and the key will be to put all those things together to make this a prosperous, thriving, progressive country and region.
Right. Now, being an American and having lived in Asia, did you at any point feel any backlash? I mean, you don't look like the typical blue-eyed, blonde-haired American, so I'm assuming it wasn't as bad. But, you know, did at any point, our bureaucracy, our lack of speed and efficiency ever irritate you?
Coming from New York City, I must say at times it has.
Yeah.
But it's been a wonderful learning experience. Look, I think anybody who goes to a foreign country and decides to settle there is going to experience some frustrations. But by and large, as I say, it's been a wonderful learning experience. It teaches patience, I can say that.
That's for sure.
But in respect to the backlash, you're right, I don't have the typical blonde-eyed, blonde-haired, blue-eyed look of a quote-unquote typical American. But then, of course, we have to ask ourselves, what is a typical American? You look at my president, Barack Obama.
Right.
Is he a typical American? I would say, to an extent, yes, he is. He is indeed. That America is a melting pot of different peoples. But not being blonde-haired and blue-eyed, to some degree, has allowed me to fit in here to a degree that I wouldn't be able to otherwise. Some people even ask me if I have Malay heritage. So, but there has been, I suppose, some tensions, I guess you could say, between East and West post 9/11. None of that has really affected me too greatly.
Well, speaking about being out of place, you do touch on identity, alienation, and belonging in your book. How could you elaborate a little bit on some of these themes and what the reader might gain from the insight in your book?
Sure. I think that post 9/11, what happened was that a lot of people, all sides of the world, actually internalized a lot of their angst over what they were seeing in terms of geopolitical events, and this led to a great deal of alienation. And so this collection addresses those issues. At the same time, I would like to say that this collection also has a great deal of humor that's running throughout it. And so it's not all ponderous, serious matter.
Okay, so just, well, very quickly, just sum it up for us. What do you think somebody who picks up a book and finishes it will take away with them after reading it?
I think they'll have read something that is highly entertaining and at the same time mentally stimulating. What more could you ask for?
That is true. So now you are actually launching the book tonight. Tell us where.
That's true. It is at PJ Live Art Center, which of course is in PJ.
Yes, in Jaya 1.
So anybody who wants to come out, please do. It'll be a double launch between myself and Zaid Ibrahim. And we'll be discussing our respective works and be doing a Q&A and hopefully signing a lot of copies.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations and good luck with the book launch tonight. And thank you very much for joining us on the show. I will definitely pick up a copy and read it. Once again, it's called Velvet and Cinder Blocks, and it will be available in your local bookstores very, very soon. Thank you very much, Ioannis.
Thank you.